Good morning. I'm getting ready to go into a new book, a new chapter in life. It's not a new book, but it's a new beginning, and it's in Exodus chapter 12. I'm getting ready to see God do something to move that he's getting ready to see God's judgment on Pharaoh and his servants and people who would not hear what he had to say. This has been one of the most challenging books that I've read because it's not easy for me to understand what God is doing. I understand that he did it, and I understand that he said he would do it. Good morning. And to see it carried out, it makes you realize that God means his word. This book makes you realize God. I mean, if you couldn't take him serious in chapter 1 through 11, then chapter 12 should wake us up. Well, it did. Not so much woke me up, but it just made me want to realize that God means what he said. He's he's always meant what he said. But sometimes we don't get it until he strikes with something we cannot fight back with, which we can't fight back with anything. Pharaoh finally got the ultimate end of what God never wants for man, and that's death. But he would not hear. And it makes me think of when I read the book of Revelation, I don't know why I put an S on there. It made me think of when God has done everything that he knows to get man's attention, and man refuses, as if to say, I didn't know you said what you said. I didn't understand your word. God is love, and this can't happen, and God won't do that. And God said, I'm going to keep my word. And this is the first time, other than the first time, when he told man, he gave us Noah, and Noah tried to persuade the people to turn to God, and they wouldn't. And God just just get on the boat and let me do what I got to do. Because he hates sin that much. He hates it so much until he would destroy anything not like him because of sin. So now we're getting ready to go where God said, I am going to give you a new calendar. I'm going to start a new beginning, all the way to the point that I want you to refer to the calendar that said this is a new beginning. I started the world the first time with Adam, and then I moved on to Noah, and now I'm getting ready to introduce the descendants of Abraham, the children of Abraham, and I want to give you instructions today, moving forward. And I'm doing everything I can, and I am most definitely going to keep my word. So in chapter 12, I'm going to do the best I can to give what I believe I understand. And let's read. And I know God will help me because he knows I've been before this in this chapter, and I know that he's going to pour out whatever he wants me to understand that I didn't quite get. I did everything. I read from the grown folk Bible to the children's Bible. I got it, but I just want to make sure that I can let it flow out of my mouth, and that's what I'm asking the Father to do through me this morning. Not just for everybody else's understanding, even for mine. I said, teach me like I'm a child. Let me see. Open up my understanding so I can see this. And this is what Exodus chapter 12 says. So it's going to be something new. And these are the type of these are the type of chapters that people will skip over and say, I don't understand that, but you can't do that. You gotta go slow. Chapter 12, and the Lord spake unto Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, so this is a conversation that God is having with Moses and Aaron. He said, this month shall be unto you the beginning of months. In other words, this is established. I'm establishing a new year. It shall be the first month of the year to you. To you. Look at this. What I'm getting ready to do is going to be the first month of the year to you. And I think that the first I've read, and I tried to make sure that I read it correctly, that the first calendar was made by the Egyptians. The one that we basically use even up until today. And I think some other people did something, but the first one that I read was saying that the calendars were made by the Egyptian. But God has said, you are getting ready to get a new calendar. Because what I'm going to do this time is going to mark the beginning of what I want you to remember. He says, speak you unto the congregation of Israel, go to my people, saying, in the 10th day of this month, they shall take to them every man a lamb. This month right here, and I won't say what month it is until I can get it more validated. And in the 10th day of this month, God is talking to them, they shall take to them every man a lamb. On the 10th day, a new month, on day 10, according to the house of their fathers, a lamb for an house. You are going to go get a lamb on the 10th day of this month. I'm going to be very clear. Listen to what I'm saying. I'm giving you instructions, and I don't talk much, God's saying. But whatever I say, listen closely to the details of what I'm saying. He said, you are going to go get a lamb. Take to them every man a lamb, according to the house of their fathers, a lamb for an house. However many children that this man has had in his house, go get a lamb big enough to feed everybody. And if the household be too little, in other words, if it's real small for the lamb, let him and his neighbor next to him, next unto his house, take it according to the number of the souls. In other words, if you get a lamb it has too much, it's too big, then share it with your next door neighbor. Every man according to his eating shall make your account for the lamb. In other words, if you got 3 people in your house and you don't need that much, then go to the next door and y'all get together and then y'all kind of eat together. I want you to go to your next door neighbor. I didn't say go to the next down the street, your best friend. Go to your next door neighbor. You can't just go get anybody. We're not going to skip anybody. Go next door and tell them to come and eat with you. He said to Moses and Aaron, your lamb shall be without blemish. He said, don't bring me anything that's handicapped. That means that you got to look carefully to find something that has no blemishes on it. It can't be blind. It can't be halt. The skin can't be all, with any infections or defections or defects. Your lamb shall be without blemish. And what does that mean to us? He said, go get my lamb and make sure you bring me something without blemish. In other words, carefully teach my word so that whatever you say, that there's no reason for anything to be sick or lost or feeble or lack of understanding. Get the lamb and make sure that it is acceptable, because you search to make sure that the scriptures were being read and taught where people won't have these missing holes in their thinking. They won't just walk around saying I said something and limping while not paying attention to what they're doing. So pay attention to what you're trying to bring me and bring it to me without anything being wrong with it. Your lamb shall be without blemish, a male of the first year. Now, a male of the first year, I'm thinking that that's at least he's a year old. And then I heard somebody else say it's the first male of the first male. No, a male of the first year. I'm gonna leave it like that. A male of the first year, he has to be at least 1 year old. Ye shall take it out of the sheep or from the goat. So give me something, a lamb from the sheep. And I didn't know that a goat was called a lamb. Well, give me a lamb. Give me something young from the goat. That's the way I want it. Now, let me go back to this. I heard this guy say, he said a male of the first year. I'm not sure about that one. I'm not sure that he said I'm looking for the male of the first lamb that was born, and that he was the first one to be born in that year. I would rather say that he had to be at least 1 year. He had to be 1 year old. All right. I'm particularly telling you, I am specifically saying, give me a lamb without it being something wrong with it. It has to be a male. It has to be a year old. It can be from the sheep, and it can be or a goat. When God has given us clear understanding on how he wants us to bring whatever he said bring, he takes his time to make sure that, number one, you understand it. Number two, you can do it. And they shall take of the blood. Oh, wait, I skipped one. And ye shall keep it until the 14th day. All right, the 7th day you're going to go get it. And you're going to keep it for 7 more days. And now it's going to be on the 14th day of the same month. The whole assembly of the congregation of Israel shall kill it in the evening. So go tell everybody to have this in their house. If you got too much, share it with your next door neighbor. Then keep it 7 days. And then I want everybody to kill it on the 14th day in the evening. Now, all of this is not saying, so what does that have to do with us today? Pay attention to what I'm saying. Pay attention to my word. Whatever the word of God tells us to do, even now, that we don't necessarily go out and kill lambs. But what did the lamb tell us to do? Who is the lamb? Who came as a lamb? What instruction did he give us? Then those are the things that are required. And as God is saying, as I'm speaking now, this is how I will speak forever. I am speaking. You can you understand it, you can do it, and that's what I'll only accept. That's the only thing I'm going to accept is what I'm telling you right now. This is what you do. This is a new beginning. And I want you to tell them, now listen, all right? He said, now when you get that lamb, you're going to take of the blood. You're going to kill it and take that blood and strike it on the 2 sides of the post and on the upper doorpost of the house wherein they shall eat. Whoever is eating this lamb, tell them I said. When you go into a door, you got a left side and you got a right side and you got a top side. He said, take that lamb's blood and sprinkle it, strike it on the 2 sides post. He didn't say sprinkle, he said strike it. And they shall take of the blood and strike it on the 2 sides of the post and on the upper doorposts of the houses wherein they shall eat. I'm not trying to be cute. I'm telling you what you have to do. This is the entrance. Jesus said, I am the door. If anybody is going to meet my Father, you got to come through me. And the blood that I shed is giving you permission that you got a right to walk in. Now what God is doing here with Moses and Aaron, he's telling them, I'm giving you a symbol of what I want. Somebody might say, why did it take all of that? He says, not because I said it. Number one, it is because I said it, but it's not. It's like the only thing that I can think to try to make it relatively or to relate to what God is saying. He's saying that wedding ring is a symbol, but it's so much more beyond just wearing it, but it signifies that I believe in the sanctity of God concerning marriage. That's what it represents. It's not supposed to be something that you put on and you don't honor because you have it on. So this doorpost and this blood out here, God has said this is a covenant to show me that you, number one, you listen and you want to live. And they shall take the blood and strike it on the two side posts and the upper door posts of the houses wherein they shall eat it. Make sure that you got this outside, letting me know that you are following my instructions when you eat this lamb. And then he said, and they shall eat of the flesh in that night. Now they're going to start doing it. Everybody going to kill it in the evening. And you're going to eat of that flesh that night. He said, let me tell you how to cook it. He said, roast with fire. And have some unleavened bread. That means bread without yeast. Don't put any yeast in this bread. I'm not trying to get you to just eat so much of the bread that all you're focused on is how good it is. I'm not trying to get this bread to do nothing but be a part of what you have to eat. Don't put any yeast in that bread. Don't put in it. Yeast is the same thing that alcohol is. When you cook bread and you put yeast in it, it is the same fermentation. It does the same thing that alcohol does. That's what yeast does. He said, don't put any. I want you sober. I want you to understand what you're eating. Don't put any yeast in it. And I heard somebody say, when you go to a bread company that makes bread, if you stand out there long enough, you can smell the alcohol in that bread. That's why when people be, anyway, I stay with the word on that. We'll get to that on another day. And they shall eat the flesh in that night, roast with fire, and unleavened bread. Don't put any yeast in there. And with bitter herbs. Something that, and I looked that up and it was talking about it like the taste of a mint plant. They shall eat. You're going to eat this lamb. You're going to have the unleavened bread. And the herbs that you're going to eat is going to be bitter. A bitter plant. Clearly. Do you understand what I'm saying, Moses? You're going to take a lamb, a year old, a male. And if it's too big, you're going to tell the families, get enough for your family. But if it's too much, then you share it with your neighbor. Then you take it and you roast it. And then you get you some unleavened bread. Get you some dough, but don't put any yeast in it. And then you get you some bitter herbs. Get you something. You got your bread, you got your meat, and you got your vegetables. Basically what it's saying. And this is how you shall eat. I want you to eat it like this. Because what I'm about to do, I'm telling you what you are going to do. I'm telling you this is how it's going to happen. He said, don't eat it raw. Make sure it is fully cooked. Don't boil it in water. Roast it. Don't get in a hurry and just say, I got to get this done. He said, you're not going to give me anything other than what I said. You have to eat what I told you to eat. You got to prepare it the way I told you to prepare it. It has to be exactly what I'm saying. Otherwise, I will meet you with judgment. Don't eat it raw, nor sodden at all with water. In other words, don't soak it in water, but roast with fire his head with his legs and with the appurtenance thereof. In other words, I want the whole thing on the grill, inside and out. In other words, when we come before God, he said, I want your head, I want your legs, and I want your inside. I want all of you. I don't want you to try to do it no other way. Don't try to, if I said roast it, don't try to give it to me any other way, because I'm not going to take it. And your life depends on following my instructions. And you shall let nothing of it remain until the morning. When I tell you to do something, do it, and don't say, I'll do the rest of it tomorrow. I'm going to give you your assignment for today. Don't put it off. Don't say, well, the Lord gave me this, then I'll just do the rest of it tomorrow. He said, no. And ye shall let nothing of it remain until the morning. And that which remains of it until the morning, you shall burn with fire. In other words, it's not going to count. Whatever I told you to eat today, the daily bread that I told you to do, whatever instructions that I give you for this day, the only thing that is going to be required is what you can do for this day. Don't save, whatever you do today, don't put it off to do the rest of it tomorrow. Complete this day. Because whatever you try to give me tomorrow, I'm not going to even take it. It's as good as burned. So whatever instructions I have you doing, if I tell you to go do something, complete it today. Don't put off what I'm saying. But he's saying right here in the offering turn, whatever I tell you to eat today, eat that. Because tomorrow, you got to throw it away. You got to burn it up. It's no good. It's got to be burned, not throw it away, burned. And thus shall ye eat it. This is how you're going to eat. And you're going to eat it with your loins girded. You're going to put on the right clothes. You're going to have on the right, you're going to be ready. You're going to be prepared to move when I say move. You're going to be dressed with the right clothing on. I'm telling you how to prepare it. Now I'm telling you what I want you to look like when you start eating. And you shall eat it with your loins girded, your shoes on your feet, and your staff in your hand. I want you to eat like you're ready to go to work. I want you to be so prepared to do what I said do until you look like you ready to do what I said do. I want the right food. I want it cooked the right way. And I want you always dressed and ready to be ready to go at any moment. We're supposed to have the word of God so much inside of us that God can say, she's dressed, she's ready at all times, or at the time that I'm going to tell her to be ready to go. And thus shall ye eat it with your loins girded, your shoes on your feet, and your staff in your hand. You got your word in your hand, you're prepared to go, and you look like you're on your way somewhere. And ye shall eat it in haste. It is the Lord's Passover. He said, tonight's dinner has to be, when there's an urgency for God to have us prepared and ready to go, he said, eat in a hurry. Eat with haste. For I will pass through the land. Because he said, why am I doing this? Because this is what I'm getting ready to do. I told you what you have to do. And let me tell you what I'm going to do. For I will pass through the land of Egypt this night, and will smite all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both man and beast. And against all the gods of Egypt I will execute judgment. I am the Lord. In other words, I'm getting ready to kill every firstborn of the house of Pharaoh. Anything connected to Egypt, whether it's cattle, whether it's man. It didn't matter whether it was born as an animal or whether it was born as a human being. The first of everybody, from the cattle to the man, from the president, from the king, and to the folk that's in jail. It doesn't matter. I'm serious. I'm telling you, this is what I'm going to do. It won't be. I just didn't take it serious. I really didn't believe that you would do that. It didn't make sense to me. What else do we say? I mean, I worship, but I just don't have to worship you. It doesn't matter. He's not saying, will you let? He's saying, tonight I will pass through the land of Egypt this night and will smite all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both man and beast. You got to be careful who is your leader, because Pharaoh, when he made a decision that he's going to throw those baby boys in the river, and the people didn't start a revolt against him, they didn't rebel against him and said, we don't agree with you. They allowed it to be so. They did not stand firm like those two women that was midwives. Now, you and the folk that you led getting ready to cry tonight, because I am not going to change my mind. I've done everything that I could to get you to let these folk go. And now it's my turn. And I will pass through the land of Egypt this night and will smite all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both man and beast. Why would you put your family in danger of being under God's judgment, and you too stubborn to do what God said do, while you let your family go through something that you could have avoided? Why is it that we don't hear God? Why is it that, okay, let me just go into the word and then it'll explain itself. I'm going to execute your judgment. I'm coming against all those lowercase gods you had. I'm going to let you know that I'm God. You don't have to believe me. You're gonna believe what I do tonight. And the blood shall be to you for a token upon the houses where you are. The blood is going to represent that you believe that I'm not lying. And the blood shall be to you for a token upon the houses where you are. And when I see it, you can't hide this blood. The blood, the representation of who you are, has to be, I got to see it. And when I see the blood, I will pass over you. When I see the blood. I'm not asking you, all I said, just let the blood cover you. When I see the blood, I will pass over you. And the plague shall not be upon you to destroy you. When I smite the land of Egypt. What is it? What is that easy or what? When we get God's instructions and he can see that it's working in our lives, that destruction gonna pass over you. I'm not measuring how many people in your house. I'm not measuring nothing but the blood. All I ask you to do is make sure that the entrance of how to get into you is covered with the blood. And this day shall be unto you for a memorial. God, none of this is happening yet. He's just giving instructions. He's still talking to Aaron and Moses. And this day shall be unto you for a memorial. In other words, I'm giving you something to remember. Get used to this. This is the first time I've ever told anybody to do this. This is a new calendar. This is a new day. And this day will be something that I want you to always remember. And ye shall keep it a feast to the Lord throughout your generations. In other words, celebrate this. Put this on your calendar. Make sure that you remember this. Ye shall keep it a feast by ordinance forever. In other words, I decree it. This is going to be your order. I want it done. Let's see why. 7 days shall ye eat unleavened bread. 7 days shall you eat unleavened bread, bread without any yeast in it. Even the first day you shall put away leaven out of your house. The best thing you do, don't even have it in your house. Put it out. For whosoever, because this particular time, now God is not talking about every day. For this particular time, when you come to me to eat and hold this feast, it's got to be done this way. 7 days shall you eat unleavened bread. Even the first day you shall put away leaven out of your houses. For whoever eats leavened bread from the first day until the 7th day. He said, if I got anybody going to violate what I said, that soul shall be cut off from Israel. The promises that I plan to do for Israel, that I'm going to do for Israel, it will not be done at your house. If I am going to make a decree and you alter my decree, he said, I'm going to cut you off. Because I didn't actually do anything you couldn't do. And in the first day, he's still talking to Moses. And in the first day, there shall be a holy meeting, a holy convocation. And in the 7th day, there shall be a holy meeting, a holy convocation. To you. In other words, I want you to get everybody together. No manner of work shall be done in them. In other words, the time y'all do this, don't come in with no other thing to do but be ready to hear what I got to say. Nobody working. That every man must eat, that only may be done of you. And let me read it right. And in the first day there shall be a holy convocation, and in the 7th day there shall be a holy convocation to you. No manner of work shall be done in them, in those days, except that which every man must eat, that only may be done. In other words, whatever you have to do to prepare that food and those things that you have to eat, that's all you're going to be doing. I want to set aside. I want you to understand there are certain things that I want done this way. I'm getting ready to set this thing up. And ye shall observe the feast of unleavened bread. For in this exact day have I brought your armies out of the land of Egypt. Therefore shall you observe this day in your generations by the ordinance forever. I'm bringing you out today. This is the day I'm bringing you out. What I said you must do, I am letting you know you will do. It's going to happen just like I said. In the first month of the 14th day of the month, at evening time, ye shall eat unleavened bread until the 20th day or 21st day of the month, until that evening. In other words, you got 7 days that you're gonna do this, and on the 21st day, you're gonna eat up until that evening the same type of food. 7 days shall be there no leaven found in your houses. So go back over this again. He says, 7 days shall there be no leaven found in your houses. For whoever eat that which is leavened, even that soul shall be cut off from the congregation of Israel, whether he be a stranger or born in the land. Follow my instructions. I'm giving you clear, precise instructions. What do I learn from this? Listen exactly to how he wanted it done and do it. I heard somebody say the last words of Mary, Jesus' mom, said whatever he said, do it. She never spoke another word, and it's recorded in the Word of God, because that was enough. I did my part, and world, whatever he said, that means we are to know what he said. How in the world are we going to do what he said and we don't know what he said? Ye shall eat nothing leavened, in all your habitation shall you eat unleavened bread. He still emphasized, don't put no leaven in that bread. Don't put anything in the Word of God to make things swell up. Keep it just like I said. Don't put anything that will make that bread rise. Don't put anything that make them folks sleepy. Don't put anything that'll make them not to be sober. Don't put any yeast in it. Don't mix it with nothing. Don't take my bread, my word, and try to add something to it because you think that I need some type of support. I said it exactly what I want. I want it to be bread, and I want you to eat it, and I don't want you to put nothing extra in it. Don't try to make me look big by something that you added to what I said to draw my people. I'm not gonna take it. Then Moses called, in other words, I had never told you to buy a TV to draw people to me. I ain't never told you that you got to play these games to get people to come to me. I never told you to lay your hands on people and tell them how God gonna put money all under their feet. Now, I ain't tell you to draw people like that. That's living. I never tell you to add anything to my word. Let my word be what it is. I'm not playing, because I'm gonna kill somebody tonight. Add something to my word. Add something to what I said. I cut you off. I know how dangerous it is for you to tamper with my word. In fact, all I want you to do is be like Ezra. Read the word. Ye shall eat nothing leavened, and all your habitation shall ye eat unleavened bread. Then Moses, okay, the conversation God is done with Moses and Aaron. Do you hear me? Let's see if they heard him. 21st verse. Then Moses called for all the older people, the elders of Israel, and said unto them, now watch what Moses said. Draw out and take a lamb. Did God say do that? Yes. According to your families, get it big enough for your families, and kill the Passover. He called it a Passover. And ye shall take a bunch of hyssop, take this plant, and dip it in the blood that is in the basin, whatever you, in the bowl, in the sink, wherever you got that blood in, and strike the lintel, the top of the door, and the two side posts with the blood that is in the basin. Whatever was drawn from that animal that fell in that bowl, take a plant, that hyssop, take it and wipe it at the top, and then wipe it on both sides. And strike it, that's what he said, strike it. And the two side posts with the blood that is in the basin. And none of you shall go out of the door of his house until the morning. He said, this is how we're going to do this. You're gonna take it and do it exactly like I said, and don't leave out of that house until the morning. For the Lord, and then he said, what is God going to do? Those folks that say, I don't, what you mean by that? As we walk and get with God's word, I'm going to explain everything that has a meaning. But right now, take that blood. You want to live? Take that blood, do what I said. But the Lord will pass through and smite the Egyptians. And when he sees that blood upon the lintel, the top of the door, and on the two side posts, the Lord will pass over the door. When I see that you are covered by the blood, something in my eye. When I see that you're covered by that, when your door is covered by that door, the entrance to you is covered by the blood. Something in my eye. And will not suffer the destroyer to come into your house to smite you. In other words, when I see that blood, the one that has the power to come in and kill everything in there, he's going to pass over you. He said, I ain't going to even kill everything. They're going to kill your firstborn. Something has gotten in my eye. And ye shall observe this thing for an ordinance to thee and to your sons forever. In other words, you're going to do this and you're going to teach your children to do the same thing. And it shall come to pass when you come to the land which the Lord will give you, according as he has promised, that you should keep this service. In other words, this is not going to be a one-time event. And it shall come to pass when your children shall say unto you, Mama, what you doing? What y'all preparing for? What mean ye by this service? And this is what you shall say. It is the sacrifice of the Lord's Passover, who passed over the houses of the children of Israel in Egypt, when he smote the Egyptians and delivered our houses, and the people bowed their heads and worshiped. None of this has happened yet. God instructed. Moses now is instructing. The people heard it, and they bowed their heads. Moses not only spoke to them, he said, I'm talking to you, letting you know that this is not going to be a one-time event. When we get to the promised land, we're going to keep this up, and I need you to make sure you tell your children. And when they ask, because some of them going to be so small until they're going to want to know, what are we doing? And you explain it to them. This is the night that we lived when the enemy died. God passed over this. And the children of Israel did what? Now, God spoke to Moses and Aaron. Moses and Aaron spoke to the elders of the people. When the people heard the instructions of God, they bowed and worshiped him. And guess what they did? And now, let's see what happened. And it came to pass that and the children of Israel went away, verse 28, and did as the Lord had commanded. When leaders hear the word and they tell the people what the word said, then the people will bow down to God. And they got up and they did what they had been commanded by Moses and Aaron. They said whatever they did, so they did. So did they. And it came to pass. Now everybody has done their part. And it came to pass that at midnight, the Lord smote all the firstborn in the land of Egypt. God would never do anything without somebody warning you to say, I'm going to do this. We have to be careful enough that we read this word to find out what's God's move. But too many times we drunk, we're jumping, we're shouting, you're just putting leaven in that stuff. And God said, And it came to pass, because God ain't going to tell you, I didn't know. And I heard somebody say, if you ran that stop sign, you can't say, I didn't know it was there. You still got to pay that ticket. You run that stop sign and somebody else get hurt by what you didn't know, you still got to do the time. So God is saying, I'm not taking I didn't know. Because what I asked you to do was easy. And it just required what I said. And it came to pass that at midnight the Lord smote the firstborn in the land of Egypt, from the firstborn of Pharaoh that sat on his throne unto the firstborn of the captive that was in the dungeon, and all the firstborn of the cattle. He said from the palace to the prison. Everybody had somebody dead in the house if you didn't do what God said do. And Pharaoh rose up in the night. God said, I told you, you're going to get y'all out of here quick. And Pharaoh rose up in the night, he and all his servants and all the Egyptians, and there was a great cry in Egypt. Now it looked like to me they should have been crying when the lights came, when the word says darkness was so thick that they stayed in the same spot for 3 days. That means them folks was using the bathroom on themselves. He said they did not move. You got dead frogs. That looked like to me should have made you cry. But we tough. We ignore God's word. And you saying, God said, I'll tell you something. I know how to make you cry. I used to, when my sons were little, when they got sort of big, and I'll whoop them for something, and they'll act like they're going to stand there and like Mom, I can't cry no more. Yeah, thank you. And the Lord made them cry. What verse was I on? And there was a cry in Egypt. Wasn't nobody crying over there in Goshen. For there was not a house where there was not one dead. There was nobody's house that this thing did not touch. And he called for Moses and Aaron. This is the Pharaoh. And he called, now they're talking. And he called for Moses and Aaron by night and said, rise up and get you forth from among my people, both you and the children of Israel, and go serve the Lord as you have said. Also take your flocks and your herds as you have said, and be gone. And bless me also. That man said, finally, y'all, get out of here. And then go say, and bless me also. I don't know whether he was saying, and do me a favor and get out of here, or bless me. I don't know. All I know, that's what the word said. And the Egyptians were urgent upon the people that they might send them out of the land in haste, in a hurry, get these folk out of here. For they said, we be all dead now. We don't get these folk out of here, all of us gonna die. God didn't say that. He said what he said. See, they trying to add some leaven to God's word. He said, I'm gonna kill all y'all. He said, I'm gonna kill the first one. I'm gonna do what I said. I got a day that I'm gonna get everybody if they don't do right. But right now, they want the firstborn. And the people took their dough before it was leavened. God told them, said, that's how it's going to be, and this is how I want it to be. And the people took their dough before it was leavened, their netting troughs, being bound up in their clothes upon their shoulders. In other words, they grabbed their bread. Y'all get the bread, get the bread. They had to get up out of there. And the children of Israel, I wish I could explain it the way I see it. Because when God was telling them, this is how I want it done, because this is how it's going to be. He was already instructing Moses and them, this is how I want it to be done. But it happened to be done the night they didn't have time for that bread to rise. So God already knew that you ain't going to have time to put no yeast in that bread. And what did I say? And the children of Israel did according to the word of Moses. And they borrowed, okay, I missed some. They got that dough, rolled it up in their aprons, and took the dough maker and just grabbed that stuff, and they got it. You had to get what you can get and get out of here quick. And the children of Israel did according to the word of Moses, and they borrowed of the Egyptian jewels of silver and jewels of gold and raiment. He had already told them, y'all get you some stuff, get your stuff. And the Lord gave the people favor in the sight of the Egyptians, so that they lent unto them such things as they required. He said, whatever you want. What else you want? Y'all, you need this? You need this? You want it? The gold, the silver, and the clothes. And they spoiled the Egyptians. They left them for, in other words, when something is spoiled, that means you know that it's not the same. And the children of Israel journeyed from Ramses to Succoth, about 600,000 on foot, that were men beside the children. 600,000. That's a lot of babies that came from 12 sons. And that's not even counting the children. Whether it be 600 men, whether it be 600, all the word says is 600 men and their children. So it might have been saying, somebody said it could have been 600 adults and the children, or it could have been the male, and assuming that the wives were being counted too, and the children. In a way, it was a lot. And a mixed multitude, they said it was over 1 million. And a mixed multitude went up also with them. Got some of them folk that the Egyptians said, we're going with y'all. I put some blood over my, okay. And a mixed multitude went up also with them, and flocks and herds, even very much cattle. Them folks said, I want to be a part of what y'all got going on. And they baked unleavened cakes. So now they on their way. And they baked unleavened cakes of the dough, which they brought forth out of Egypt. For it was not leavened, because they were thrust out of Egypt. They didn't have time. For God already told them that's how I want it. You happen to do it, but you were doing it according to how I wanted, because I knew that that's the way it was going to be when I moved, and now that's the way I want you to do it from now on. This time you didn't put it in there because you didn't have time. The next time you do it, it's because that's the way I want it done. And they baked unleavened cakes of dough which they brought forth out of Egypt, for it was not leavened, no yeast in it, because they were thrust out of Egypt and could not tarry, neither had they prepared for themselves any victuals. They didn't have time to do nothing but do what they did. Now the sojourner of the children of Israel who dwelt in Egypt was 430 years. They came in there and stayed in that land for 430 years. They didn't own anything there. They were renting, if I may say. They were living there. I don't know if they were, they were we're just going to be, it's like a hotel to us. We just staying over. We're just going to be here for 430 years. And it came to pass at the end of the 430 years, even the exact day, it came to pass that all the hosts of the Lord went out from the land of Egypt. The very exact day that when God told Abraham, when he put him in that deep, horrifying sleep, the exact day, 430 years later, the Lord said they went out from the land of Egypt. Not one day. When he told Nebuchadnezzar that you're gonna look like something different for 7 years. And for 7 years, that man crawled and did what he had to do according to what God told him he would do. And on that, not 7.5, on that 7th year, the exact day God told him. The exact day when some of the women in the Word, God said you're gonna have a baby by this time next year. He kept his word. 430 years, like he told Abraham. He said, and they went out of Egypt. It is a night to be much observed unto the Lord, for bringing them out from the land of Egypt. This is that night of the Lord to be observed of all the children of Israel in their generation. This is a night to remember. And the Lord said unto Moses and Aaron, this is the ordinance of the Passover. This is the way I want it done. There shall no stranger eat thereof. Now I got you out of there, but let me tell you this. No stranger gonna eat this. It ain't gonna be, my word ain't gonna be for, you got to do it like I said. And no stranger should eat this thereof. You got to be a part. You got to be a part of my family. But every man's servant that is bought for money, when you have circumcised him, then shall he eat. In other words, when he line up with the word and go through whatever it takes, open up your mouth and say, you want me to be Lord? Then you can have some word. You can have my covenant. A foreigner and a hired servant shall not eat thereof. Just because somebody around you, they're not going to get what you have because they're around you. That's not how it works. No foreigner or somebody you hire, it's not going to eat thereof. A foreigner and a hired servant shall not eat thereof. In one house shall it be eaten. Thou shalt not carry forth out of the flesh abroad out of the house. You eat in your own house. You eat where I told you to eat. In one house shall it be eaten. I'm trying to see that today. Out of this one book shall it be eaten. Thou shalt not carry forth out of the flesh abroad out of the house. Don't take it nowhere else. Don't take nothing else. Don't take this. What is God saying then? Out of the flesh abroad of the house. In other words, out of my house shall you eat. Don't do anything else other than what I say do in my house. That's how I'm see that. Neither shall you break a bone thereof. Don't. You talking about the one that I send you? That's the one you're going to eat of. And keep it intact. Don't break the structure of my word. Don't break the bone of my word. Don't take Jesus and think you're going to handle him any kind of way. That's that lamb. When they looked at the Jesus and thought they were going to break his bone, they said, oh, he already did. Ain't nothing going to happen to nobody but what God said, but what I said. All the congregation of Israel shall keep it. He said, everybody that's a part of this congregation shall keep it. And when a stranger shall go along with you and will keep the Passover to the Lord, let all his males be circumcised. He said, now if you're going to be a part of this, you got to do what you did. And then let him come near and keep it. If a stranger comes in and says, I want what you got. I want to know your God. Tell him he got to be circumcised. This time, the circumcision will be of the heart. But then it had to be where they need to be circumcised. And then let him come near and keep it. And he shall be as one that is born in the land. God said, I won't make a difference. If a man comes in, I don't care if he come in. You've been in 10 days and he come in and he didn't come in today. In other words, you got there before he did and then he did come in. He said, I'm going to treat him like he always been a part of my family. For no uncircumcised person shall eat thereof. He said, if you don't line up with my word, you'll never eat what I got planned. One law be to him that is homeborn, and unto the stranger that sojourneth among you. I'm giving this, I'm not getting ready to change my mind. I'm not getting ready to alter it. I'm not forgetful. I said what I said. And what I said, that one thing that came, whatever comes out of my mouth, that's exactly where it has to be. Thus did all the children of Israel. And if I have to go back on verse 49, I'll post something different if I have to. Thus, verse 50, thus did all the children of Israel, as the Lord commanded Moses and Aaron, so did they. They obeyed God. That's so good when we obey God. And it came to pass in that exact day, self-same day, that the Lord did bring the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt by their armies, by their tribes, by their families. He brought us out. I'll be back. I got to get in chapter 13.